You still
there's
watch Portal Guys, so you get scared?
Oh my gosh, the clown doll.
The clown
alone
doll. Oh my
enough
god.
to like
I know.
make me want to run and hide. Hello and welcome to a brand new edition of a brand new show, sort of, the Show. This is technically our second season, but it's a new beginning. There's all kinds of new things happening here. First off, let's get to the nitty-gritty of it. We are two geeks who talk about everything. I am Aaron, and as always, I'm joined by my cousin Landon. Say hello.
Hello and good day.
All right. This is all new because now there's a video here. You could be looking at our beautiful faces.
Should you choose?
I mean, and if you choose not to, that is a valid life choice. Some say that I have a face for radio. That's it.
That's the one. Face for radio.
A voice for I don't know. Garbage disposal.
I'm just happy I get to show off my cool little doodad. So
he's got Funko Pops and stuff. I've just got books on my shelf.
I've got to learn how to do the backwards, like pointing, like a meteorologist would do. And over here, you see, oh, that's good. I'm learning.
That's all you need is a green screen and some fake like clouds and stuff.
By all means. But welcome back, fandom. We are super excited to be able to do this show, this podcast. This is season 2 for us, but with the new branded name, The Show.
That's right.
Which sounds like a very smart, like kind of a, like we're going to educate. That is probably not going to be the case.
Not at all.
Not really education. Yeah.
The title actually comes from a critique that we got from some friends, family, and various listeners during our first season, pointing out the fact that we, the two of us, say
a great deal.
Lot.
Yeah,
a lot.
A great deal.
I mean, you say it more than I do.
I do. I do,
So we thought we'd just embrace it. We'd embrace it. Instead of being in various and Peckapalooza, like we're trying to be anonymous or something.
Yeah.
That's too much. It's a mouthful, and no one's looking us up. So the Show has it's catchy, we hope.
Yeah.
And we've got a flashy little logo to go with it. So hopefully, if you are a past listener, welcome back. We hope that you will continue listening and share with your friends and family. If you are a first-time listener, welcome. How did you find us, and what's keeping you here? I mean, I'm not saying go away. I'm saying please stay.
Yeah.
And if you are watching us on YouTube or on Spotify, that does have the capability of showing video now on these podcasts. Check out the bottom of the screen. We will have our links to social media there. You can find us on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, on TikTok. We're going to be all over the place.
All over. Yep.
So please feel free to reach out to us on any of those platforms. Email us. We've got our email address up and running. So again, check out the bottom of the screen for those. They'll flash up here under our faces. And let's get into tonight's episode, or this week's episode, because you might not be listening to it at night. It's that time of year, isn't it?
It is that time of year, a very special time, near and dear to our hearts, where people give candy. There's a kindness that spreads throughout the land.
All right, see, here's where the two of us differ. All right, you see this as a time of year where people are kind to small children who dress up as scary creatures and come knock on your door.
Have I romanticized this?
What?
Have I romanticized this? Are you saying?
I mean, it seems like you are at this moment. But here's how I see it.
Please, yes.
I see it as a bunch of small humans dressing up in costumes, coming to my door and freeloading. coming and asking for handouts.
Yeah.
Get a job.
You
All
you
right.
know, I just want to remind you, you have the option of the trick. If you take the trick option, and you could get arrested for that, but at the same time, you still have the option. They say trick or treat. It is an allowance for you to choose not to treat.
Yeah, but
There could be a trick.
I don't think that I would be performing the trick. I think the trick is they play a trick on me if I do not provide them with a treat. See, it's blackmail.
Oh, I see.
It's extortion is what it is.
I thought it's trick or treat.
No.
Like
You want a Snickers, go out and buy one, kid.
there you
Stop coming to my door dressed in your Jack Sparrow outfits, or
You don't
whatever.
find it like, there's a little bit of, maybe it's because of the theater, the arts. Our appreciation of the arts. I like the theater. I like the idea of artistic expression, and I like the idea of these kids come. Now, I especially like the ones that do things that are a little above and beyond. So, you got the plastic little Spider-Man thing. Okay. But, when I was a kid, again, I was a kid, I'd like come up with my own little costumes. Like I'd be a ninja, and I'd basically take I remember I took like a hoodie, and I put it over, and I did the zipper thing around close to my eyes, and I had glasses on and all that stuff. So I'd be like a ninja, it was kind of cool.
I don't remember that one. We used to trick or treat together though.
I remember one. I won't do it. I'm sorry. I won't do it.
We won't tell that story.
I'm sorry. I won't.
No, I do remember though. It was very clever. Your family, the four of you, donned trash bags one year and all went out to California raisins.
That is true. I'm pretty sure that would be a no on social media these days.
Yeah.
For me to have done that. So
really.
I just don't know that the California raisins are going to be appreciated in their glory as they once were.
They were just claymation characters. It was.
I
thought
know,
it was clever.
The culture today, they shut that stuff down. You got to be sensitive and stuff. But
because you're impersonating a raisin.
Yeah, because people are sensitive about raisins, Aaron. You've got to be very thoughtful about the raisin population. These are
grapes or sun-dried grapes. I don't know.
Hey, listen, before we go further, I need to confess something to you. It's been bothering me. This is something that other people may not appreciate. Some of our listeners may, if they're friends and family. But I've come into this with a little pregame excitement. Just kind of getting myself geared up for season 2. I know you didn't have this opportunity, but I feel bad not telling you that I got to have something very special tonight to eat.
Oh, what's that?
I got to have mama mac and cheese.
Okay.
I'm sorry that you couldn't experience that.
Those of you who are listening and wonder what mama mac and cheese is, it is our grandmother's special recipe macaroni and cheese. Pretty sure that the special ingredient is crack.
That's right. It's crack mac. It's
exactly crackaroni and cheese. It is
macaroni and cheese,
and you cannot stop with one serving.
No, I feel sick.
I feel a little sick. See, I ate a fine dinner, and I do not feel sick at the moment.
What did you eat for a fine dinner? What was your fine dinner?
I had a chicken Philly cheesesteak sandwich.
That does sound good. It depends on where it's from, of course.
It was pretty good.
Anyway, I just wanted to get that off my chest. I know that's a sensitive subject for you. So.
It's okay. I'll cry myself to sleep tonight on my huge pillow.
A huge pillow.
All right. So because it is spooky season, because Halloween is only a few days away, we've decided let's tackle the horror genre. Now, This is a huge topic. And so there's plenty to talk about. We will try to limit ourselves to, roughly an hour, as we typically do with the show. Unless we get overly passionate about something, but I'm not overly passionate about horror. Are you?
I don't know. I go through phases throughout the year where I will get into a horror genre phase, and I want to watch a few things that I really like appreciate, or if something comes out that I want to see. But it's not like I go, all right, 30 days to Halloween. Now it's the time. I don't do it like that.
New Halloween movie, new scary movie every night between now and Halloween.
Yeah, and I appreciate the genre, but I'm not like, doing that per se. However,
Right.
I will say there are great Halloween movies.
Sure.
And just scary movies overall that are unhalloweenish, that are worth merit.
Really, I mean, when you think about it, most scary movies have nothing to do with Halloween. It's just
Right.
this time of year we associate with monsters and
Right.
scaring things, and of course there is the movie Halloween, which is a seminal classic in the horror genre and the slasher subgenre. Like when we talk about horror, I mean, really there are countless types of horror movies. I mean, you can do horror comedy, you can do horror
Well, there's slashers,
horror.
there's witchcraft, there's
You can do sci-fi horror,
there's
you can do
sci-fi
action horror.
right?
Um,
And I think some of these too, like, and that we blend the lines. We had talked about it in Marco Polo earlier, but like, when you look at something like Event Horizon, that's a great movie. I mean, in my opinion, it's a great movie. That is kind of the horror genre, but it's also very sci-fi because it's in space and all that stuff.
I would definitely consider that like a sci-fi horror,
right?
Like Alien, definitely sci-fi horror. I mean, that's almost like a slasher movie on a spaceship where you've got this alien who's taking out everybody one by one.
Right.
It's insanely scary.
When something bursts out of your chest, I think that merits the horror,
Yeah, and taking apart that android that's bleeding milk, that's just, I mean, it's disturbing.
Home. That was Bilbo Baggins, actually, wasn't it?
It was.
Ian Holm?
Ian Holmes.
Ian Holm. Yeah, that was great. Yeah, there are some that get me. Now, when I think about kind of the nostalgic side of this growing up, I mean, there were definitely some that hit us in the 80s that were hardcore, like Poltergeist. I mean, Poltergeist
rated PG, folks.
Weird, right?
G.
Really
but
weird.
I mean, you think about when it came out, PG-13 didn't exist yet.
Oh, really? I didn't think about that.
Yeah. I
like
believe,
PG then R?
Yeah. So you had G, PG, R, and X. Those were your ratings.
There was no NC-17 either. Right?
NC-17 doesn't exist. It didn't exist.
And then, with TV, then there's not now MA for mature audiences and things like that.
Oh, they didn't even come out the TV rating system till like the mid 90s.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. But it's interesting though, because, I've seen that movie since, of course, as an adult. And it's, you look back on these and they're really not comparative to some things that have come out in recent times. Scary. I mean, honestly. But
are you okay? Are you sure you're not talking about like the first Poltergeist and not Poltergeist 3? Because
you still watch Poltergeist and you get scared?
Oh my gosh, the clown doll.
The clown doll. Oh my god!
To like,
I know,
make me want to run and hide.
True. Oh my gosh. Well, there's some really rough scenes. Now, I will say, was it Poltergeist 2 or 3 where it was in the city?
It was 3. It was in the John Hancock building.
So the only thing that scared me about the later versions was then in 3 when she goes and all the doors open and the guy comes out.
Yeah.
Each door. That was freaky. But yeah, the first one was something else. Now, of course, preceding these, and I'm not going all the way back to the Bela Lugosi Dracula, though I loved it. I mean, I still could watch that at any time. I love that movie. But I really think about, you got Rosemary's Baby, you've got Exorcist. Mm-hmm. I mean, Exorcist, I could still watch The Exorcist, and that still is freaky to me. Even the cinematography is freaky to me.
I rank The Exorcist as one of those movies that is brilliant, but I can watch it one time. Yeah, if I never see it again, I'm okay. I'm okay because
Yeah.
the imagery in that movie is so disturbing. I mean, I remember like you hear stories about when the trailer first hit back in the day, like people were having physical responses
Yeah.
just to the trailer, not the movie, but the trailer for that movie.
Right.
And
You wonder about hype. I mean, there is the hype aspect, but then
sure.
there's also elements of it that are just really, really disturbing. You know what I mean? Just like really, really disturbing.
Well,
I
and
mean,
I mean, yes,
wow.
I have no doubt that some of it was hyperbole as far as like saying, "Oh yeah, this woman had a heart attack watching the trailer for The Exorcist."
Right.
Maybe it happened, maybe it didn't. I
Right.
don't know.
Someone had a
But
heart
you think
attack
about
watching Men
the
in
era
Black too.
when
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm
I
just
mean,
saying, like things happened, right?
but no. You think about the era when that came out. They'd never seen anything like that
Yeah,
before.
that's true. It kind of broke new ground,
Yeah. As
and all
far
that
as
too.
like scary and pushing the envelope, I mean, that was above and beyond anything. I mean, and then you
Right.
think about before that when Psycho came out.
Yeah.
I mean, what Hitchcock did with that was like,
Well, and it's the things that stick with you too, right? So talking about like Psycho, like there is, and I'm talking about the old one with Anthony Perkins, right?
yeah.
So like I even to this day, I will still like from a shower curtain perspective, I'll be like, yeah, shower curtain, you know what I mean? I'll still just have this little moment. Shower curtains are now evil, they're like,
I don't
watch
mind them
out for
so
your
much.
shower curtains, you
I
know,
think they're all right, but I always make
very
sure to,
sensitive to the shower
lock the
curtains.
door.
You lock the door. Yeah, like that's gonna help.
Oh, it
How much
does.
does that ever help?
It does. You're going to hear the door open if they have to break in.
You're gonna die like one of these guys in this. Now, what about when Scream came out? What do you remember when Scream came out and the whole thing was about like talking about scary movies and the things that would happen that were constant in scary movies?
Wait. What's Scream?
What's Scream?
I'm kidding. I know exactly what Scream is. Oh, come
I'll,
on. It was a
who
joke.
who
It's one of my
who
favorite movies. Let's
Okay, all
go.
right, all
All
right. I
right.
was just gonna
Yeah.
say because
No.
there's really no way that you should be allowed on this
Yeah.
podcast for a
No.
Halloween special without knowing what Scream is.
Scream basically wrote the rule book for horror movies for
Literally,
millennials and Generation X,
but so good, right?
Oh,
Like,
absolutely.
like just
Absolutely.
just how it broke it broke the fourth wall really by kind of talking about what happens, and then you had all that happen in it.
It was a horror movie that kind of turned the microscope on itself.
Yeah, exactly.
And it didn't just give us a slasher movie for the 90s. It gave us a rule book, a guidebook for slasher movies in general. Because it took what had been done for, let's say, 15, 20 years previous. And I mean, you've got a very specific type of movie when you think about horror in the 80s, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you've got what, half a dozen Friday the 13th movies. Same
Yeah.
with Nightmare on Elm Street. I mean,
Yeah.
the killer never dies. The killer
Right.
always comes back. And so there's always something. And then you've got Wes Craven, Kevin Williamson come along with Scream and turn the genre upside down by like really making a
Exposing it.
statement about it.
Yeah. And even being funny about it and yet still plowing through, with, the surprises and the unexpected. And that movie is probably one of my favorite, scary movies, if you will. Not that I consider it to be entirely scary, per se, but there's just the whole feel and vibe. The music in it is great.
Oh yeah.
There's
And
just a lot of great aspects.
if you want to get into talking about music in a horror movie, now we
Essential.
can beat the drum of Halloween all night long. John Carpenter's theme for that movie, absolutely brilliant and so
Yeah.
simple. Have
Yeah.
you ever tried to watch Halloween without the music track though?
Oh, really? No.
Not
No.
scary at all. It's like everything, it's so slow paced, like that you can see everything coming, but when that music is playing, it's like
You're getting intense. Well, the same thing
Yeah.
with I was watching one of the Friday the 13th movies. I think it was the second one. And I just had it in the background and I had the music off. I had it on mute. And I was just watching it and going, huh, it really kind of lost its luster, if
Yeah.
you will.
Yeah.
But that's a
Sound
huge
design
part
plays a
of it.
huge role in these movies.
Huge role. And then all the fake outs, right? The jump scares,
Ugh, I hate a jump
just
scare.
but I mean,
If it's done well, it's okay. But like I
right.
feel like there's, especially these days, I feel like there's too many movies that rely on jump scares.
Yeah, it can be overdone.
Yeah. Oh, it's
Yeah,
especially you get into those PG-13 horror movies
right.
where it's like, all right, we can bring anybody in here, and all we're gonna do is like every time they open the refrigerator door and then close it, bam, there's the killer.
Now, I will say, if you're talking about some redefining horror movies, I think like something like The Ring is a redefining horror movie, because you look at a movie like that and you're talking about a different element of behavior and movement that started to happen with the contortionist kind of. Now, it's not that you didn't have that already, but that movie really was so visible in culture, and that changed the game a little bit on some scary thing with the dark hair over the face and just, that kind of scary aspect.
Well, you have to remember too, The Ring introduced Western audiences to Japanese horror for
Right.
the
What
most
was it
part.
called? Ju-on?
That's
Ju-on?
The Grudge.
Oh, that's The Grudge. All
Yeah.
right. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So when The Ring hit and was a huge success, then they started, importing all these other movies from Japan, making
Right.
American remakes. You got The Grudge, you got Dark Water. I think The Eye was one Missed Call was one, Pulse
Yeah.
may have been another one. It's and then of course it's oversaturated and it's like
Right.
it loses its luster.
Now, yeah, exactly. Exactly. But those
So
pretty defining when it came out, at least for Western culture, to be able to see that kind of scary or behavior for ghosts or behavior for, any sort of, crazy evil entity, I mean,
and
or whatever.
that's the thing. Like, you want to talk about like paranormal movies, the horror genre that gets into the supernatural. I would dare say that some other redefining movies, and this is arguable, Paranormal Activity
Agreed.
was huge. Now, diminishing returns on the plethora of sequels that have come out since,
Sure.
but good gosh, I mean, what, that budget was like six figures and it made how many millions of dollars?
Right. Well, think about before that with Blair Witch Project.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Same kind of
thing.
thing.
And although some people, I've got to ask you this too, because I remember vividly when I watched this movie, and you had a camp of people that were like, this is real. You know
Oh
what I
yeah.
mean? And then you had a camp of people who were like, it's not real.
No,
I'm going to tell you, buddy, I'm going to admit it freely without apology. I was of the camp that thought this was the real footage. You know what I mean? I did. And I watched it and I was like, oh my gosh, there are things in the woods.
So here's what was brilliant about Blair Witch was, they fully took advantage of the newness of the internet, right? They had viral marketing down before viral marketing was a thing. And
Yeah,
so that's
so
why
smart.
they had so many people convinced that this is not just a found footage horror movie. This is a documentary about these three kids who went into the woods and disappeared.
Yeah.
And
And
so
when
like
you look
they
it up,
had,
you'd see stuff. You'd
yeah,
like, yeah.
you go
Oh my
online, you go to the
gosh.
website, and it's like, here's the proof. Here's the real town in Maryland.
No.
This is the real forest where it took place. And it's like, oh man, this looks legit. This is real. And I remember my dad, very logical thinker, very grounded in reality, just kind of rolled his eyes at me and said, no, it's not real. It is a movie. It's fake. I said,
Uncle Lee,
really?
how practical.
Really, Dad? Is it? And then, of course, I went and saw it, stayed at the end of the movie, and, it's got the disclaimer that said everything is fiction. Any likeness to reality is coincidental. And
I
it's
didn't
like,
stay for that part.
wait a second.
I was
You
probably
always stick
probably
around for that to find out if the movies that are based on real life are actually based on real
I
life.
don't know what I was doing. I was probably looking for a new set of underwear. I don't know what I was doing, but I do remember coming out of that going, it's real. What was hard about that too is that I saw it on my birthday in August. And then I went on my annual camping trip with my dad 2 months later in Gatlinburg.
Bad
And
idea, Jeans.
oh my gosh. Oh man, that was so like something else. Crazy.
No, even knowing that it's fake, I don't think I'd want to go camping anytime soon after that. I mean,
No, gosh, it's like going to swim in the ocean after watching Jaws. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, really.
I
No.
mean, and that again, another. I think you can call Jaws a horror movie, right?
Yeah.
It's
That's a monster-ish type of
yeah,
thing.
it's
It's
sort
not
of a
just,
monster movie.
I mean, he's like not a normal shark,
Well, yeah,
but
he's
I think
mechanical.
people would consider it to be debatable. I honestly, when you look at supernatural things that are happening, extraordinary things that are happening, then I think you're kind of fitting in the horror genre. I don't, when I look at something like somebody could watch Last House on the Left or something like that, or they could watch a movie about like just people who come and terrorize that are just normal humans, that do it. They're scary, but that's a whole nother world for me. That's like thriller. You know what I mean? And it's not that I don't think thriller and horror can intermix. It's just when I think of horror, I think of something supernatural. And that's debatable. But not
That
everybody
is
believes
debatable
that.
because I absolutely think that anything scary, I think, can be considered horror on some level.
Yeah.
Now, so have you ever seen The Strangers?
Yes. That would be a good example of
Yeah,
one of these.
no supernatural
Nope.
incidents whatsoever. You just got three people in scary masks who it's a home
Right.
invasion.
Right.
And that movie scared the crap out of me.
Yeah, very, very scary. Yeah, no. And I get that, but maybe it's best to just define between the two, not rather than just saying, you could say thriller horror, or you could say, supernatural horror or paranormal, horror.
Yeah, I
But
do think that like the supernatural aspect of it that falls into, like I said, there's various subgenres of horror. I mean, Scream absolutely just is a horror movie. There's no supernatural element to it. It's
yeah,
a slasher movie, which is its own subgenre.
right.
Now, Friday the 13th also, many of the sequels are, they're considered slasher movies, but they would also be considered supernatural because Jason
keeps
is
coming back.
basically a zombie.
Yeah, he's a zombie. Yeah. Well, and then I do think that there are people often find themselves in one of two camps. Either they are really scared of the supernatural horror genre and not really scared of the thriller genre, or vice versa. Most people I've ever talked to, it's like they're like, "Oh, I'm not scared of that because that's not real." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or they'll go the other way and be like, "I'm scared. I'm absolutely scared of that because that could truly happen." And so but then you have the other side that's just like, well, that's just like the police would catch somebody like that. That wouldn't happen here. You know what I mean? And then the other side, they're like, but that's the unknown. That's the supernatural. That could, we don't know.
For me,
Yeah.
it depends on the type of supernatural that we're talking about. Like, all right, Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th. I'll watch those movies and I'll be entertained by them. They don't do anything for me. They're not going to scare me. That's not going to get the adrenaline going. Now, if we're talking Paranormal Activity, that kind of scary movie, that's the kind of unknown that gets me.
Her
where it's
standing
like
over the bed, that part messes with me so much. Like, just I'm gonna wake up one night and I'm just gonna see someone like hovering over my bed. You know what I mean? Rocking.
Yeah.
I'm just that.
Yeah. Like, imagine you wake up 3:30 in the morning and your wife is just standing there staring at you.
Okay. All right. Whoo.
But
yeah.
and part of that too, maybe it's my conservative Baptist upbringing. You bring in this movie where the antagonist, for better or worse, is an invisible demon. It's not a ghost.
No,
We're not dealing with ghosts. We're
this
not
is
dealing with the
malevolent.
ghost of grandpa over here, or
Yeah.
some preacher who led this group out into the desert 200 years ago. No, we're talking about an actual demonic entity that has attached itself to this person.
Let them in
And
the house.
it's no. See, that scares me. That kind of thing, because to me, again, with the religious upbringing I've had, I fully believe that
That
angels,
could
demons
happen.
exist.
Yeah.
And so I'm not gonna mess with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think I'm the same. I think that there's this element, where first of all, when we were kids, I don't know if you knew this, but I had really bad nightmares and night terrors, which are two different things,
I
but
did
it's
know
based
that.
upon, the night terrors are based kind of like stress dreams. Like, it's not like you're having some nemesis in your dream, but it's just very intense and you're just very scared and just like extremely afraid and terror. But then the nightmares, you actually are dreaming of something. I had both as a kid. Well, coming out of it, um, I was fascinated by watching horror movies and scary movies to overcome my fear, right? To kind of get to know it a little bit and kind of not to demean it, not to go and be like, oh, that's stupid or anything like that, but to look for the good to overcome the evil. So for me, I love watching horror movies where there is a victory. Good overcomes evil. I'm not a fan of watching a movie that ends in the bad guys winning, ever, really. There's not
Yeah.
ever a genre that I'm just like, not don't really enjoy that aspect.
Even if that's more realistic.
Yeah, I guess so, because I don't really, I don't I like the good conquers all, love conquers all, that kind of stuff.
So you're into movies for escapism and a lack of reality. Got it.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right, Aaron.
Because
Thank you.
there are plenty of these horror movies that do end in good conquering evil, but there's also plenty that ends the opposite of that. I mean, even the original Nightmare on Elm Street, you think they've won. You think Nancy beat Freddy
Yeah,
and everything is back to normal. All of her friends are still alive. They're going
right.
to school. And then mom gets sucked in through the window by Freddy's claw.
Pretty funny. Now, I have to differentiate. I don't really, that doesn't really bother me. The aspect of, oh, they may not be bad, they may not be dead, oh, they could come back, that doesn't bother me, because it's like, oh, that could be a sequel, you know what I mean, where they have to go and overcome it. I think the ones that bother me are the ones where, like, and some of them are a comment. Like if you watch what was it, the Gingerbread Man, or one of these movies that have the cult, and it's a comment on,
The Wicker
like,
Man?
Wicker Man. That's what I'm saying. What was I saying? Gingerbread Man.
Gingerbread Man.
Not
Not my gumdrop buttons.
my
You're a
bad.
monster.
You're a monster. Oh, the Wicker Man. My bad.
Not the bees. Not the bees. Easy, Nick Cage. All right. Now, so that's another like whole thing you can tackle is remakes.
Oh, that's
All
true.
right. Wicker Man, the original one, brilliant.
Brilliant.
Movie. The remake with Nicolas Cage,
Not so great.
nah, it's cringeworthy at best.
But would you say there are some, though, that have been pretty good remakes, right?
Hang on, I got to think about it.
Let's think about that. So, let's see. House on Haunted Hill. I thought that was a pretty good remake. I don't think I'd enjoy it as much now as I did when it first came out, with Jeffrey Rush. Remember House on Haunted Hill?
No, I don't think I liked it.
So that was kind of like it was like in a insane asylum, and it had been repurposed or bought or something like that.
Is
But
that when is that the remake? Was there an original one of that?
there was an original one, yeah. Yeah, there's original
Vincent
House on
Price,
Haunted
right?
Hill. I think it was probably Vincent Price, but Jeffrey, yeah, it would have been, yes. And then Jeffrey Rush was in the remake.
No.
What about Child's Play? Did you like the remake of Child's Play that had
I didn't see it.
I haven't either.
Because at this point, like, I'm so disenchanted by remakes. I think they're a waste. I think it's stupid to remake a movie that was perfectly good the first time around. If I'm going to watch it,
Yeah.
why don't I watch the original? I do that with the live action remakes that Disney keeps coming out with. The stuff with the original Friday the 13th versus the remake of Friday the 13th, I thought was they're entertaining, sure, but they don't touch the originals.
No, and I didn't like the Nightmare on Elm Street remake.
I thought it was horrible.
Horrible.
That was a horrible movie.
In fact, I wish Wes Craven's New Nightmare had been the last one that they ever did with Freddy Krueger, because I like New Nightmare. I thought that was a good movie.
That was really good. That was almost like a precursor to Scream, giving us a meta commentary on the actual slasher and Nightmare on Elm Street, and giving us a kind of a real world look at just that fandom and just how rabid people are for more Freddy Krueger.
More of that. Yeah, I thought that was a really, really cool movie. I thought the It remake, chapter 1 and 2, I know that not everybody liked them, but I really did. I liked the old, and it didn't demean the Tim Curry one either. You know what I mean? I enjoyed both of them for what they were independently of one another.
I'll give you that. Like, I did really enjoy it, especially chapter 1. I always feel like the second part is where they lose it, trying to tell the adult side of the story.
Right.
I thought that with the 90s version as well. But another remake, I'm not sure if I would consider it better than the original, but definitely intriguing in its own right is the new Pet Sematary. I think that's fair. I mean, because going into it, if you've read the book, if you've seen the original movie, the big thing that's going to happen is that the little boy Gage is going to get hit by a truck.
Right.
But then they switched it in the new movie, to where it's the daughter.
Right.
And that's like, wow, thank you for like changing things up so that now I don't necessarily know how things are going to turn out. And it didn't, like, the rest of the movie was like uncharted territory if you
because you didn't know what was going to happen. Yeah. No, I appreciated that too. I think anytime that they do a little change like that, and It chapter 2 did that as well, from the original. It was, that it had that element. I do think they tried to shove a little bit too much in. But I mean, it's a Stephen King movie. It's just what you would expect. Anyway, I think the Stand remake, I wouldn't consider the Stand a horror movie or series.
No. It has its moments that
I didn't
are
like
certainly
the remake at
scary.
all.
No, I didn't either at all.
Horrible.
No, I was very disappointed. I watched the entire thing.
Me too.
Mostly out of, I felt like, obligation.
Yeah.
Because I love the book. The book, that is my favorite Stephen King book, bar none.
Oh yeah. You see it right up there. Whoop, somewhere there it is. Right there. Right there.
I think I gave mine away to somebody who wanted to read it, and I never got it back.
That wasn't me, I promise.
It was okay. It's just one of the paperback versions.
But that was good. I mean,
I thought the original miniseries was pretty good.
Absolutely.
For what they could do on TV.
Sure.
And given the scope, like the sheer scope of that novel is like, I don't want to say Lord of the Rings-esque, but I'm pretty sure Stephen King has even like tried to compare it to the Lord of the Rings, in that it is this epic journey.
It is.
And an epic battle between good and evil.
Yeah.
Which it definitely is.
It accomplishes that. Let me ask you this: what about Amityville Horror? Did you? Because I really thought the remake was even better than the first one, in my opinion.
Nah, see, I thought that was horribly miscast. I love Ryan Reynolds. Don't see him as a psychopath.
Yeah, and I can see that for a lot of people, who at the time, I won't lie. At the time, I wasn't as I just didn't pay attention to him. I didn't really know who he was at the time,
Yeah.
really. It's not until now. I think it'd be interesting. Me seeing him now in something like that would probably be harder for me now that I've seen so much of his work.
Well, now
That would be harder.
he's only being cast as himself these
Yeah,
days.
yeah, he's not even
So,
acting, so no, that's true. But I think there is something to be said about being careful with those kind of movies. But I don't want to go without saying there are some like Halloween or even not horror genre. I don't know what you'd kind of call it here, but when you're talking about like the Beetlejuice movie, or you're talking about the Death Becomes Her. You remember the Death Becomes Her movie?
I would call that horror comedy.
Or comedy, Young Frankenstein,
Yeah. Oh
and
yeah,
even,
absolutely.
and this might be silly to some, but Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein is
Yeah.
is one of the coolest movies, of its time. I loved that movie.
Yeah. That's
Monster
where
Squad
you
from the 80s. You remember that one?
which one?
Monster Squad.
Oh gosh, yeah. Um
Oh, so
that's
good.
like that's like if the
Kick him in
Goonies
the
was a horror
nards.
movie.
I know it was. It was so good.
Yeah, such a great movie. And that's it's funny. That's one that I keep hearing they're gonna remake, and
Monster Squad?
yeah, I kind of get excited about it whenever I see news about it, but then I'm like, no, remakes suck. Let's not do that. Let's leave it as it is. Let's just watch the original
Yeah.
Monster Squad and be okay with it.
It's like Lost Boys. Lost Boys is gold.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Don't ever do anything with Lost Boys again. Ever.
And they made sequels later on,
Right,
like
right,
much
right.
later,
Yeah,
focusing on Corey Feldman's character.
right, right.
I think
No,
it
no. It
I never
was
saw it.
just
It was just like, nah,
so
that's
good in what it was.
yeah, the original Lost Boys. And I mean, who would have seen the grandfather from Gilmore Girls as like the big bad guy? Right?
But so good. All right. Oh man, I love that movie. And for the
Yeah,
time
Joel
when it came,
Schumacher directed that.
oh, I don't remember. I don't remember who.
Yeah, yeah, Schumacher.
Um,
Guy that
but
did Batman and Robin. Same guy.
that which was scary in itself. I consider that to be a horror movie, honestly.
No, that's just a travesty.
But there are some really good movies that we got a chance to see growing up, that were just excellent like that. But there, I don't know if there's I mean, obviously there's ones to mention like Ghostbusters. Obviously, those are fantastic movies. They're paranormal, but they're, not horror, but paranormal comedy, but there
You
will,
have your
however,
you have your
be,
scary moments in
I
it.
was gonna say, which one was yours of all the scenes? What's your scariest moment?
From Ghostbusters,
Yeah.
probably there at the beginning in the library.
Oh, the librarian.
Get
Oh.
her, and then she just
Yeah.
yeah, that one's because that was unexpected. I mean, all you think is, oh, you've got this ghost who is in the library and is shushing them, and then suddenly they're gonna, what you're gonna tackle the ghost. And then she turns and transforms into this ugly decaying monster and screams at him, and I'd be running out too.
That was a
Yeah, I'd
memorable,
consider
scary
that
moment.
horror comedy for sure. Even with and most people, I don't think would categorize it as horror. I mean, they probably just put it under comedy and leave it at that. But again, it's got your supernatural
Touches.
horror
Yeah.
elements
Yeah.
that there are scary moments. I mean,
Oh yeah.
you've got demon possessions, a talking refrigerator. I mean, Sigourney Weaver playing Zool once she's possessed is real creepy.
She is. And yet still beautiful.
I mean, yeah, hot, but super creepy.
Oh man. Yeah, there were some really, I mean, some of the movies I was just kind of thinking about, like, do you remember when Casper came out? Remember with
I
Christina?
don't know if I'd consider that horror.
Well, it's still a ghost. I mean, you think about like Hocus Pocus, and you think about like A Nightmare Before Christmas. You think about, there's some of these movies that are family oriented movies that are Halloweenish movies.
Yeah.
Definitely not horror genre, but it falls into that kind of comedy, paranormal kind of stuff that really, for many people, it's kind of the bedrock of Halloween for
Yeah,
their
these are the movies you watch at Halloween when you have very small children
yeah,
and can't show them Halloween or
or any of the other ones.
yeah, any of these slasher movies or paranormal activities or Hereditary or anything like that. I mean,
Oh, oh, oh.
oh, so you saw Hereditary, huh? You want to talk about something that redefined the horror genre? I mean, let's talk about that and Midsommar.
Yeah.
What's the guy's name that directed those? Ari Aster. I mean, when you put his name on a movie from now on, I'm gonna be hesitant to go see it because I'm legit freaked out by those first two movies that I saw from him.
Yeah, I have to admit, um, I can't say that I've ever been as affected negatively by a movie like Hereditary.
I
That was a really that was an extremely hard movie for me to watch.
Yeah, and I won't watch it again. Again, that's one
I
of
won't
those
watch
that
it again
I
either.
think it's brilliant. I thought it was a brilliantly made movie, but I will not watch it again because it was so disturbing.
It was very provocative. Yeah, I honestly, I wondered if we'd touch on the subject, but there are certain movies and you know, for my wife, her movie that hit her right between the eyes is not necessarily a scary movie for many other people, but at the time when it came out and the way that it came out, for her, it was Fear.com. And that movie was, you know, the way that the evil shifted and the way that the movements, you know, of that kind of thing and the static the thing that was going on, you know, with that was just very, very disturbing for her. So, you know, I think everybody has like this moment in some movie in some place where it's like, that ain't right. You know what I mean? It's just like it messes with you. You know, Hereditary was definitely that for me. Yeah, more than anything, I think. Yeah.
All right,
Woo.
have you ever? All right, here's a question. Have you ever finished watching a horror movie and your only thought has been that was really, excuse the language, effed up?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that one. Yeah. I
Hereditary?
mean, Hereditary was that way for me. I watched it during the day. So, you know, the family
That's not going to
was
help.
no, it didn't help. But it was it's so interesting because the family was doing their own thing, you know, in different quadrants of our house and stuff. And I was just in my office, which at that time was open to the house. And I'm just sitting there with my earbuds on, you know, listening and watching this movie. And I'm just like, you know, my eyes are like wide, and then scene after scene would happen to its ultimate crescendo. And I just could not get the things that I saw out of my head. And I mean, it took me a little bit, right? I mean, so you know, and in fact, you know, God bless it, the kids will, you know, now know the movie that I told them. They've asked me before, you know, what's the scariest movie you've ever seen? And I've told them, I've been like, I'm not going to tell you that. I'm not going to tell you the movie
Because
that's
I
the
don't want you
most
to go look
disturbing
for it.
because I don't want you to go look for it. But they'll hear this podcast and they'll know based upon my
Yeah.
description. Which kids that means don't watch that movie.
Yeah.
But I
We do
do
not
think there's
condone
some
it.
things like that. I mean, would you say was there any particular one for you that was like that's left up? You know?
Well, yes. But let me give you my experience with Hereditary. Saw that in the theater with my pastor. So Jeff and I, both big movie buffs. And so when I was living in Blacksburg, working at North Star at our church, he and I would go see movies all the time. This was in the day that like the Movie Pass heyday, right?
Yeah.
When Movie Pass was still a thing and you could just go see all the movies. And so he and I went and saw that at one point, and I know he didn't like it at all. Like he thought it was stupid. Like when we walked out, I don't think he was scared by it. I think he just thought it was a dumb movie. Me, when stuff is happening on the screen, I'm pretty sure I jumped back into my chair into the fetal position. Because
I would have liked to see
like
that.
the moment when the
Oh, hold on there. Hold on there. Don't please.
okay, we won't bring up the imagery. Okay. No, the first time I remember having that when the movie was over, I was in college. All right. I was at Bluefield, sitting in the dorm with one of my old roommates, and we're sitting there in his room watching this movie. And as soon as it's over, we both just looked at each other, and at the exact same time, those are the words that came out of our mouths. That was effed up.
Yeah.
The movie, Rob Zombie's House of a Thousand Corpses.
Yeah, yeah. I saw that. I also saw Devil's Rejects.
Yeah, both of
And
those. Just
yeah, I mean, I think when I saw Devil's Rejects in the theater, I th- I thought it was a bit more. They were playing on House of a Thousand Corpses, right? But House of a Thousand Corpses in itself was almost like, what are you showing me? This is like it was like a. Do you remember Natural Born Killers?
oh
Do you
yeah,
remember
yeah.
that? Okay, so Natural Born Killers was well known for just kind of showing like there's not a romanticized Bonnie and Clyde here, right? These are like really ruthless people that will kill, and it really kind of revealed some true evil, in people, right? And I think about something like House of a Thousand Corpses, and I think about just the brutality, and it just is revealing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Until I later kind of learned about like the Manson Sharon Tate thing and stuff like that happened. I really hadn't at that time come to a level where I understood that there was that kind of evil in the world. And so seeing those things was almost like a horrific education,
Yeah.
to me, of that kind of evil. And you can't like turn off that switch in your head, right?
No, it
You
exists
know,
now.
it's there,
Yeah.
it messes with you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Whew.
Gosh. So
On a lighter note.
I was gonna say, I don't know where to go
Wow.
from here. I mean,
Oh no. No,
we've
no, no,
really
no.
covered horror from A to Z and then some, I think.
Well, let me round out something with you. Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
If you were from looking back on a favorite, like if there was that, like not just the thing that scared you the most or the thing that messed with you the most or anything like that, but if you could find one that you'd say, or even a series of ones that was like your most enjoyable horror genre, what would you say?
Um, I
And
would
that could
either
be
go
organic, by the way. You know
do
what I
what?
mean? It can be organic, something that changes. I mean, obviously, it's not like it's the best movie, but just in your opinion, like if you were like,
No,
if I'm
yeah,
gonna go
yeah.
see something now, here's what
Like
I want to
I'm
watch.
like I'm not gonna pick something just because I think it's the best one that's ever been made or
Right.
necessarily uh what come to mind for me as far as favorites. I'd either go with the original Halloween 1978 or the original Scream.
Yeah.
um and it's just because of the nostalgia of both of those, that they're very classic. Halloween, when you bring up those slasher type, classic monster or serial killer or mass murder movie characters, Michael Myers is a cut above, like,
Yeah.
no pun intended. um
Well done.
he it's and I say the original simply because when you get into the sequels, even though now more recently you've had the new trilogy that's done away with the ones that were made in the 80s and 90s. um you know uh those sequels still exist, and so when you get into those sequels, they get sillier and sillier, and they throw in elements of the story that make it less scary.
Yeah.
Whereas in the original Halloween, you just had this guy in a mask and there was no rhyme or reason to what he was doing. He was just a force of nature.
Yeah.
And when you start adding elements like, oh, he's Laurie's brother, turns out they're related, or he's going after his niece for some reason. And oh, there's this guy dressed in black with steel-toed shoes. Who cares? That you had the cult of the thorn in there because and that's why Michael Myers does what he does, because a constellation shows up every Halloween and tells him to do it. No, that's stupid. All right. I don't want to know why Michael Myers is a killer. I just want to know that he's pure evil, and I'm okay with that. I don't need to feel sorry for him. It's like when they made Maleficent. All right.
Right.
I don't want to feel sorry for Maleficent. She is an evil being who cursed a baby. All right. I don't want to feel sorry for Cruella de Vil. She wants to make a coat out of puppies.
But it is Emma Stone.
I don't care.
And Angelina Jolie? You don't care about Angelina Jolie?
Not even a little bit. Cut off her wings.
Doing for the world.
I don't care.
What's this? You're like Jerry Seinfeld. You're like, I don't care. You know, what's with this? What's with this movie?
What's the deal with the puppies?
Oh, well, I think
your
Scream would definitely be up there for me too. Like I could pretty much watch that anytime. The other one for me that I really enjoyed watching all the way through is a series. It's The Haunting of Hill House on Netflix.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
That series was really great for me. And just how it all kind of tied together. Yeah, I mean,
there wasn't a single episode in that entire series that wasn't, or I don't know how I'm saying that. Every episode of that series was brilliant. That's what I'm trying to say.
Like it.
It's really good.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed that. I like when there's a lot left to the imagination. You know, that's really helpful for me. And some of these jump scare stuff, like we talked about before, it's almost like they're giving it to you. And they just feel like they need to trick you, you know, and it's almost cheap. It's cheap horror.
Yeah.
You know,
I agree with that. Like in most movies where they do the jump scare, I agree. I think it's cheap. That's why I say I don't like them. But if it's done well, like if it's not just, oh, we haven't scared the audience in a few minutes, so here, let's throw this in here. I thought that when they had their, there were a few good jump scares in the series of the Haunting of Hill House, and the one that comes to mind is when the two sisters are driving, to the house, and the dead sister pops out of the back and starts screaming, and they crash. Like, that's a good jump scare.
That got me. Well, yeah, I think there's a lot of great things like that. One thing we didn't talk about, we don't have time to now, but American Horror Story, there's a lot of people who really enjoy that. I think that there have been great seasons. There's been some really not great seasons as well, but there's just a lot of fun horror genre. If we were to round this whole conversation out, I would say there is something for everyone. If you don't want to be scared about of anything, you've got great movies. You've got both Hocus Pocus. You've got
I wouldn't call those great though.
But some people would. I mean, and
some people really do, and I
really enjoy them for what they are. If you watch them for what they are, then you can get a lot out of them. But there's a whole genre there. There's movies that are super scary, but all in all, I mean, I think horror movies, Halloween movies have a definite place in our society, man. It's fun. I enjoy
there's a reason why people like to get scared. I mean, it's the same reason we ride roller coasters. The adrenaline rush is, it's great. And so it can be fun to be scared. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think if you're obsessed with it, then yeah, okay, let's talk about your life growing up. Maybe mom didn't hug you enough. I don't know, but
need a hug. All right. Do you have any trivia?
Oh, I don't have any trivia for you today. I'm sorry.
All right. Let's see. I think I might have a couple for you. All right.
Okay.
Let's try.
Feed me.
Right. All right. The movie Annabelle
I'm
was
familiar.
derived and connected, or was connected, I should say, not just necessarily derived, to another famous horror film and series of films, actually. Which one?
The Conjuring.
Good job.
Yeah.
Well
Oh
done. You
yeah.
got that down.
That's do you know what the original, the real Annabelle doll actually looks like?
I mean, I just the one I saw in the movie.
Not even a little bit. The
But
real Annabelle is a Raggedy Ann doll.
that's scary.
Yeah, and it
That's very
the
scary.
like the one they keep, the one that's actually in the glass case at the museum that what were their names? Ed and Lorraine, the
Yeah.
Warrens.
Yeah.
The one they actually have in that glass case is a Raggedy Ann doll.
Oh, really?
Yep. And they really have the sign on it that says, "Do not open this case."
Oh.
Yeah, it's locked. They do not want Annabelle getting out. Do you
You
have another
asked
question?
you asked me a good one before, which I thought was good, which was the Michael Myers. For anybody who's on this who hasn't heard that other podcast, I already know the answer because he asked me, but Aaron asked me, who is the Michael Myers mask based on? Like, what was the mask? And I had answered it was like a Ronald Reagan or something like that mask. And do you remember what she said?
Yeah, Captain Kirk.
Captain Kirk.
Yep, it is a William Shatner mask painted white.
And
True
do
story.
you know this one? What about what television series is based on a concept for an unproduced episode of the X-Files?
Oh, I just heard this the other day, actually.
It's really good.
Final Destination.
Final Destination. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then here's a cool one. What film was A Quiet Place? Love that movie, by the way. Love
great
it.
movie.
What film was A Quiet Place initially intended to be a sequel to?
That I don't know.
It was Cloverfield.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Huh. So
Yeah.
like a sequel to Cloverfield, or like set in like the Cloverfield paradox multiverse,
It was supposed
or
to be a
whatever.
sequel to Cloverfield.
Okay.
A
Because
sequel.
like they have those movies that you had Cloverfield, you had 10 Cloverfield Lane, and then the Cloverfield paradox. None of those movies are actually connected, but apparently take place in the same kind of multiverse situation happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Here's another one. So, what iconic horror film was dubbed The Babysitter Murders at one point?
Halloween.
That's good. And do you remember, or I don't know if you know this, we talked about Jaws, but do you know what Steven Spielberg's inspiration for the name of the artificial shark in Jaws? Who was it modeled after?
Bruce.
Yeah, his lawyer, a lawyer.
Oh, named after his lawyer. I just knew his name was Bruce. And this is a bit of trivia for you if you don't know this. In Finding Nemo, the great white shark that meets Dory and Marlin and takes them to the fish are friends, not food
Was he Bruce?
meeting, his name was Bruce, named after the shark from Jaws.
The name of the shark. That's classic. That's good. Well, that's some good trivia for us. A little there.
All right. Well, we are wrapping this discussion of horror up. So if you are out there and you've been patient enough to hang on to our every word, please join in the conversation. Let us know what you think about horror. What's your favorite horror? What's your favorite scary movie? Do you have a favorite? Do you have a favorite subgenre of horror? Like I said, join the conversation. Let us know. You can find us on Instagram. You can find us on Facebook. Leave us a comment somewhere. Leave us a 5-star review. That's a great way you can support us and
Absolutely.
this channel. If you're finding us on YouTube, leave a comment, hit like, subscribe, the little bell, so you get a notification every time we drop a new video. All the things, all the social things. We're working on growing our footprint out there in the internet, and so this is all a growing, learning process, and we are going through the growing pains. Correct?
Yes. And the other thing too is, we really enjoy interacting. This whole thing is based upon Aaron and I just getting together at a couple of holidays and just hanging out and talking about this kind of stuff anyway. So we love these kind of interactions. We'd love to hear your thoughts on it, and we'll even read them. If you'd like, if you have any questions, that we can answer, or you have any thoughts that you want to share, we love that kind of stuff. So it's the perfect escape from anything else. I mean, we have our own jobs and lives and things like that, and this is kind of a fun way just to kind of talk about some stupid stuff. You know what I mean? Just things that we like, and we'd love for you to be a part of that.
Hey, it's not stupid stuff. This is
Yeah,
serious.
it's
This
serious.
is very serious, important pop culture stuff.
It's the bedrock of culture.
But yes, definitely, we definitely want to hear from you. We definitely want to share your comments with the other listeners, all 5 of you. But
Thanks,
again,
Mom.
if you are listening, if you have enjoyed this podcast, tell your friends, they might enjoy it too. We have a lot of great stuff coming up.
Oh yeah. So many great topics.
As we are recording
Woo!
this, we're on a weekend when a brand new DC Comics movie has dropped in theaters, Black Adam, starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I got to see it yesterday. As of recording this, Landon, have you had a chance to see it yet?
No, I'm seeing it Saturday.
All right. So that is going to be our topic for next week is Black Adam, the
I'm
good, the
excited to see
bad,
it.
the ugly. It is going to be an interesting conversation, I think. Of course, we will probably do a deeper dive of the DC extended universe as a whole, just because that kind of conversation is going to be unavoidable when it comes to this movie and the implications that it could mean for the future of DC in the theater. So looking forward to that. And then in the weeks ahead, we will be talking about other movies, both old and new. And of course, we will get away from movies, talk about some video games. We'll talk about some comic books, some television. Just we're going to run the whole gamut. So stick with us this second season. We are looking forward to it, and we hope you are too. Landon, anything else you want to throw in before we wrap things up?
I hope you have enjoyed the show. Tell people about it. It's a lot of fun.
Sounds good. We want to remind you to have a great whatever it is, wherever you are.